Hello, David Smith here. Welcome to my home tutorial. Today's topic is going to be simultaneous linear equations, solving them by the method of substitution. So let's have a look at a few examples. Okay, so here we have the two equations that we're going to solve simultaneously. So first of all, I'll label them up. Call this one number 1, this one number 2. Now by rearranging equation 1, we find that y equals 2x minus 3, and we'll label that as equation 3. Now we can substitute this expression for y into equation 2, and this will give 3x plus 2 times 2x minus 3 equals 8. Multiplying out the brackets, we get 3x plus 4x minus 6 equals 8, and then adding the x's together we get 7x minus 6 equals 8. Adding 6 to each side we get 7x equals 14, and then dividing each side by 7 we get x equals 2. So I'll make a note of the value of x up here, so x equals 2. Okay, so in equation 3 I can use this to find the value of y. So by putting my value of x in, I get y equals 2 times 2 minus 3. So therefore y equals 4 minus 3, so y equals 1. So I'll make a note of the value y equals 1 up in the top right hand corner. So I now need to write the final solution. So the solution is x equals 2, y equals 1 to these two equations that I've now solved simultaneously. Now we should always check by substituting back into both the original equations to ensure that the left hand and the right hand sides are equal for these values of x and y. So when x equals 2, y equals 1 in equation 1, we'll say 2 times 2 minus 1 equals 3, and that's right. So that's for equation 1. And for equation 2 we have 3 times 2 plus 2 times 1 equals 8. So 3 times 2 is 6, 2 times 1 is 2, so that's 8, so that is correct. So our solution to the equations is correct. Now let's have a look at another example. Okay, so here we have two more equations that we're going to solve simultaneously. So first of all, let's label the equations. Equation 1, equation 2. Now at this point we need to make a choice. We need to choose one of the two equations and then rearrange it to obtain an expression for y, or if we wish for x. Now the choice is entirely ours, and we have to make this choice based upon what we feel will be the simplest. Now looking at the pair of equations like this, it's often difficult to know which is the simplest. Okay, so let's choose equation 2 and rearrange it to find an expression for x. So we have 5x minus 4y equals 1. We then add 4y to each side to eliminate this, so we get 5x equals 1 plus 4y. We now divide both sides by 5, so this gives us x equals 1 plus 4y divided by 5. We now use this expression for x and substitute it into equation 1. So we have 7 times 1 plus 4y over 5 plus 2y equals 47. We now need to do something with this fraction. So to simplify this, we need to multiply through by 5 to eliminate this 5. So we end up with 7 times 1 plus 4y plus 10y equals 235. We now need to multiply out the brackets, these. So we end up with 7 plus 28y plus 10y equals 235. We now gather the y's and subtract 7 from each side. So this gives 38y equals 228. So now dividing through by 38, we get y equals 6. So we've established that y equals 6. Now having done this, we can substitute it back into the equation that we first had for x. So we get 1 plus 4 times 6 divided by 5, and that equals 4 times 6 is 24, add 1 is 25, divided by 5, that equals 5. So we've now got our value for x as well. So I'll write them up here. X equals 5 and y equals 6. Okay, so we now have our values for x and y. So we'll write the solution. So the solution to our simultaneous equations is x equals 5, y equals 6. Now all that's left is to plug these back into the original equations 1 and 2 just to prove that we are correct. So if we say 7 times 5 plus 2 times 6 equals 47, so we have 35 plus 12 equals 47, and that is correct. For equation 2 we have 5 times 5 minus 4 times 6 equals 1. So 5 times 5 is 25, 4 times 6 is 24, 25 minus 24 equals 1. So both our values for x and y are correct. Okay, so here's another example. I'll give you a few minutes to work through it yourself, and then I'll come back and I'll work through it with you. Okay, so the first thing we do is following the same routine, label the equations 1 and 2. Now for this particular set of equations I'm going to choose equation 1 to rearrange to find the value of x. So I can see that x, if I add 3y to each side, x will equal 1 plus 3y, and I'll label that as equation 3. Now if I substitute this value into equation 2, I get 2 times 1 plus 3y plus 5y equals 35. So now I multiply out the brackets. So this gives me 2 plus 6y plus 5y equals 35. Now I add the y's together, so I get 2 plus 11y equals 35, and then subtract 2 from each side, leaves me with 11y equals 33. Now I divide each side by 11, and I end up with y equals 3. So I've now got my value for y. I'll make a note in the top right hand corner. Y equals 3. Okay, so in equation 3 I can now substitute my value for y to get my value for x. So x equals 1 plus 3 times 3, so therefore x equals 10. So again I'll make a note in the top right hand corner. Okay, so now I write the solution. So my solution is x equals 10 and y equals 3. Now all that's left to do is to check. So I'll plug these values into equation 1 and into equation 2 in turn. So for equation 1, x is 10. So it's 10 minus 3 times 3 equals 1. And 3 times 3 is 9. 10 minus 9 is 1. So that is correct. For equation 2, it's 2 times 10 plus 5 times 3 equals 35. 2 times 10 is 20. 3 times 5 is 15. So 20 add 15 is 35. So that is correct. So therefore my values for x and y are correct. Okay, so that's my final example. If you've got any particular examples that you would like me to work through, please post them in the comments or follow the link to my website. And don't forget to subscribe to my channel.